Okay. You know, are we together here, John?
Yeah, you lost an earring.
Huh?
You lost an earring.
Well, it's all right. I recently made a phone... Huh? I recently lost a phone call. I recently made a phone call. Lost an earring, made a phone call. To a friend of mine, her name is Kim Wong in China. And I called her after 11 p.m. because I wanted the rates to be low. The reason I called her is because she was very ill. She's been very ill, running a very high fever, and because of a viral infection. Called Kim and she said, "Hey, I'm so surprised and so happy to hear from you, but isn't this phone call going to cost you a lot?" And I said, "Kim, it's okay because I'm calling after 11 p.m. and the rates go down." She said, "Well, I have to tell you, Ava, you just woke me up. It's the middle of the night." I said, "Kim, what the hell do I care? I have to have a cheap phone call. I can't be affording everything." She said, well, I have to do a yawn, and she woke herself up. She woke herself up, so we're sitting there jabbing away. I said, "I've got to keep the call short, but it's important that I find out how you're doing." She said she's feeling much better, but she is running a fever. Suddenly, my doorbell rang, and I said, "Kim, could you hold the line for a minute? Someone's at my front door." She said, "Sure." I went to my front door, and lo and behold, it was someone who I hadn't seen in a long time, long-lost friend. We're sitting there gabbing in the doorway, and they said to me, "Ava, would you like to go for a late midnight snack?" I said I'd love it. So I went down to the block corner deli. We got our diner. We got ourselves pizza and milkshake, chocolate and vanilla milkshake. Loved it. As I'm sitting there on the gabbing away, having a great time with my long-lost friend, Kim was on the other end of the phone. Kim Wong was on the other end of the phone back in my apartment. The line was still being kept alive. Kim, meanwhile, started to fall asleep, waiting for me to get back to the phone. I had forgotten about it, having this great time at the deli, diner, whatever. Kim, meanwhile, fell asleep, and suddenly her fever must have gotten bad because she went into a coma. I didn't realize this because I was having a late night midnight snack with my friend at the diner. So, I'm eating, drinking, having a good time. My friend says to me, "You know, Ava, I'd like to do something wild with you." I said, "What?" They go, "Let's go to the Poconos for a weekend." I said I'd love it. The Poconos, if you don't know, are a place in upper Pennsylvania where there's mountain resorts. So we decided to do this on the spur of a moment thing. I didn't even have any luggage packed. So I went with my friend for a weekend of fun and thrills in the Poconos. Meanwhile, the line back in my apartment, the phone call was being kept alive. And Kim was in a coma. So this weekend in the Poconos turned into a seasonal thing, and we spent the entire summer in the Poconos having a wonderful time, reminiscing about old times, catching up on good times. Not the TV show, but the actual physical aspect of having good times. The end of the summer rolled around, and I went back to my little abode in New York City. Walked into my apartment, looked at the phone, said, "Gee, I must have gotten knocked off the hook." Put it back on the receiver and didn't even realize what had happened. The phone line had been kept alive the entire summer long. Kim was rushed to the hospital meanwhile and was in a coma in some Chinese infirmary. So anyway, about a month later, I got a bill. Wow! I couldn't afford the damn thing, thousands of dollars. Phone call. John, what is the moral of that story? Well, basically, I think the moral of that story is don't hang up. Don't walk away from a live wire when you're calling an offensive friend. Don't hang. The moral of the story is don't walk away from a live phone wire when you're making an expensive long-distance phone call. Huh?
A live phone wire?
Well, don't make a live phone call, a phone call. Don't walk away. The moral of the story is hang up your phone when you walk away from it, especially if it's a long-distance phone call. I basically got the whole thing worked out, and I had to switch to NCI because AT&T still doesn't want to talk to me.
Oh,
Huh? Oh, whatever.